Yes, so my question was, do you think our parliament, the individual members who get voted on their individual ticket, so to speak, even though they come under a party, to the effect that they are not able to exercise, individual independence of mind and thoughts, is there something to celebrate about the parliament?
Well, yeah, over the week, I gave an assessment of Parliament, and I felt that if you ask me to score them, I'll just give them 3 over 10, and some people came for remarking. So
3 over 10?
Yes, I increased it this morning to 3.5 over 10. You see, you cannot do any meaningful assessment of Parliament without appreciating their role. The function of every Parliament all over the world is there are 4 functions. You're talking about representation, legislation, oversight, responsibility, and then controlling the public purse. 4. Your question that you asked borders on representation. Now, when you talk about representation, essentially, we are talking about acting in a manner responsive to constituent interests. And who are the constituent interests? Who are the constituents whose interests members of Parliament or individual members of Parliament must act to satisfy? It's a tripod. First of all, you are talking about those who elected them. Those are the constituency. Their interests must be projected and must be represented. Number 2, national interests must be represented and protected. Number 3 is the partisan interest. So constituent interest, national interest, partisan interest. From 1992 up to now, it appears that members of Parliament have sought to protect more of parties' interests to the neglect of constituent interest and national interest. And so if you are asking me to rate them in terms of their representative function, then they have not performed so well. It appears that the political parties outside Parliament, or the parties to which they belong to, wield a lot of influence and want to control these individual parliamentarians more than their constituents should do. And that's how come oftentimes when there's going to be parliamentary elections, MPs who have not done so well in protecting the interests of their constituents will go there begging, and then will have their support. Will have support from other members of leadership from other political parties going there to be begging. If you have been able to serve your constituent interests well, then if you are going to seek re-election, you don't need people to go beg for you. And so in terms of representation, they've been abysmal. If you look at legislation, until recently, Justice D.F. Annan has given, I think, interpretation of Article 106 or 108 of the Constitution that says that every bill that has financial implication must come from the executive. And so, given that implication, given that interpretation, there was a serious frustration on the introduction of private members' bill. And so all the bills were coming from the executive arm of government, and then they were passed into law. Parliamentarians were in it. But recently, I believe during the days of Professor Michael Quay, my teacher and my mentor, the floodgates was open, and so many private members' bills, I'm told, have been introduced, and that is a plus for the members of Parliament. If you talk about oversight responsibility of the powers of the executive, again, Parliament has been very abysmal. You see, Parliament is supposed to operate as a countervailing authority to the powers of the executive. Countervailing authority here simply means power must be in existence to counter the exercise of power. Now, the practice where we appoint members of Parliament as ministers, hasn't really helped. People want to refer to it as a hybrid system. Hybrid is an agricultural terminology. We call it neo-presidentialism. Members of Parliament are appointed as ministers. Now, once you appoint a member of Parliament as minister, it becomes difficult for the minister to go to Parliament, to go and oppose and subject whatever is emanating from the executive arm of government to rigorous scrutiny. And so they go and then they simply, it. But don't forget that there are also members of Parliament whose party is in government and who are not appointed as ministers. They also see that the more they shout, the more they improve their chances of being appointed ministers in the event of a reshuffle. And so they shout, yeah, yeah, the most, even than the members of parliament who are also ministers. The third challenge with respect to this has got to do with the fact that until recently that we got a hung parliament, many of the ministers who are also MPs are oftentimes caught working at the various ministries. And so they find it difficult to attend to parliamentary business. And you remember, speaker after speaker, maybe it's just a recent one who is not complaining, but speaker after speaker was always complaining about lack of quorum, their inability to form quorum and all that. So these things then weaken the functioning, of parliament. The last rule is their control over the public purse. Oftentimes, again, from 1992 up to now, it's only recently that the minority group was able to suspend the quick passage of budget, which eventually even got passed. But the point is that they have approved every budget that has been presented to them. Sometimes even they themselves do not have resources, and they are not able to make enough case to ensure that the budget is passed and included, many resources are included to even improve the working of Parliament, as an institution.